Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Española for 35 years. She has lived in La Masia for the past 29 years. She has 2 daughters, 2 granddaughters, and a 1-year-old great-grandson. She enjoys working to improve literacy in our community, genealogy of her family, and spending time with her family, as well as colcha, embroidery, and gardening.
I didn't realize how tall this podium is. So, I have to tell you, I have the best grandma ever. And I believe that everybody who's lucky enough to have a grandma feels the same way. Because grandmas are the greatest. And so I'd like to tell you a little story about my grandmother who suffered and struggled and ultimately succeeded. Sorry. She ultimately succeeded and survived to enjoy a great family reunion with all her children and grandchildren in 1997. My grandmother, Maria Concepcion Miranda, was born in Michoacan, Mexico in 1900. She immigrated to the United States with her father and brother during the Mexican Revolution. She was 17 years old. They lived in and around the mining camps around northern New Mexico and southern Colorado. Her father moved around frequently, usually when Concha was showing an interest in a young man. Concha, as she was almost always known by, did find a guy, Florencio Aguilar, a coal miner. He was the love of her life, and she had 4 children with him before he died of lung disease at the age of 42. She was left to raise her children and later her brother's 3 boys after he also died young. She struggled to feed all the children and worked at several jobs, including being a maid in private homes and a rooming house and cooking for people. Her children survived and went on to college and mostly professional careers. I was born to the oldest son. I am the oldest grandchild. The second oldest is my cousin Barbara, who I wish was here tonight, actually, but eventually my grandma's cooking became well known in Raton, and she was able to open a restaurant. She later moved to Colorado Springs and opened her restaurant and married a sergeant in the Army, Carl Jones, also known as Sergeant Bubbles, for another story. And he was based at Fort Carson there in Colorado Springs. The happiest days of my childhood were the summer vacations me and my brother and sister spent at my grandmother's home with lots of cousins. I'm still amazed that she was able to handle a bunch of rowdy grandchildren and run a business during the busiest time her restaurant had of the year. She stayed calm and loving through it all. It was kid heaven. She was an efficient and careful businesswoman. For one example, she recycled before recycling was even a thing. She saved everything. She saved food containers. She tacked up the little baskets that you get strawberries in. She'd tack them up around her porch, and the birds would make nests in them. And we would sit in the afternoons eating watermelon and watching the birds fly in and out. She saved the food containers that meat came in, the styrofoam ones. It kind of became a joke. She had a schedule that was consistent. We got up in the morning, ate a gigantic breakfast, then we went shopping for her fresh produce for the restaurant, had a great hamburger at a drugstore in downtown Colorado Springs, maybe hit an auction house or two in the afternoon. She cooked. I used to love to spend time in the basement of her house, where her bedroom was, reading all her true crime magazines. Otherwise, we pretty much ran wild and practically lived at Fountain Creek, which was behind her property. The restaurant opened from 5 to 9 p.m. The only rule was that we were not to mess with her customers or their cars. We watched TV in the room she set aside for the grandchildren. She ran that restaurant for many, many years and eventually retired. My husband Bob and I moved to La Mesilla in 1995. We have about 3.5 acres, about a quarter of a mile from the Rio Grande. We love Española and love being so close to the river. We used to play in the river, much like my cousins and I played in Fountain Creek in my childhood. The relatively new house and large yard inspired Bob and I to throw a family reunion for my grandmother. It was not a reunion about a family name. It was just to honor her. Her surviving children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren all came from all over the United States, especially Colorado and California. It was a 3-day party. We are all good cooks, no doubt due to her influence. So naturally, there was a ton of great food, drinking, games, a talent show, playing in the river, and lots of laughter. One of my aunts, Esther Aguilar, showed up with a beautifully wrapped gift box. She refused to discuss the box, and it remained a mystery throughout the party. One of the events of the reunion was a trivia game made by my aunt based on the family lore. It was fun reminiscing about the history of the family. Not surprisingly, Barbara and I tied for first place because naturally, because we were the oldest, we were there for most of the stuff happening in our families. The mysterious box was the prize of the trivia game. Even though we were tied, Barbara very generously gave the prize to me. I was pretty excited to open it. I tore open the beautiful paper, flowers and ribbons, untied the bow, and very carefully opened the box. It contained a bunch of old styrofoam food containers. I still laugh when I think of that story. I am grateful, and I learned that in my family, a great sense of humor goes a long way toward getting people through the tough times of life. Thank you.